In this program, we will take up Nanzenji Temple. Do you know what kind of attractions the place has to offer to the many tourists who visit it? Nanzenji Temple is located in Kyoto and is visited by 16% of all visitors to Kyoto, ranking it 5th in Kyoto and making it a popular tourist attraction. The entire temple grounds are designated as a National Historic Site. There are many things to see and do, including the national treasures Hojo and Sanmin. It also has the oldest garden in Kyoto. It's very fantastic and beautiful to see the abundance of nature and the historical buildings blending into the natural surroundings. The autumn gradient from the approach to the stately Sanmin and Hatu is truly spectacular. Don't miss the garden at Hojo. It is also a popular tourist destination where visitors can experience Zen meditation, a characteristic of Zen Buddhism. From here, I will explain in detail how Nanzenji Temple was established. Nanzenji Temple is the main temple of the Nanzenji school of Rinzai Zen Buddhism in Kyoto City. Rinzai Zen is one of the 5 sects of Zen Buddhism in Japan. In Japan, a Buddhist sect that practices Zazen is often called Zen sect, right? Generally speaking, the goal of Zen Buddhism is to attain enlightenment by renouncing attachment, but the Nanzenji school in particular is unique in that it incorporates what it has learned from experience into daily life. Originally, a palace called Zenrinja Dono was built here in 1264 by Emperor Kameyameya for his mother, and it was set up separately from the imperial palace. It is called Zenrinji Dono because it was built on the south side of Zenrinji Temple. In 1287, the Zenrinji Dono was divided into the upper palace and the lower palace, but Emperor Kameyameya built the Jibutsu-do, a hall where Buddhist statues and tablets are enshrined for daily worship, and named it Nanzenin, which was the beginning of Nanzenji Temple. Later, Nanzenin became an affiliate of Nanzenji Temple, and it still has the oldest garden in Kyoto and one of the 3 major gardens in Kyoto. Emperor Kameyameya abdicated in 1274 to become a superior emperor, and in 1289, at the age of 40, he was ordained and became a pope. 2 years later, in 1291, Superior Emperor Kameyameya converted the Zenrinji Dono into a temple and named it Rinzan Zenrinji Temple with 80-year-old Mukonomen as the temple's founder. Emperor Kameyameya, despite being a member of the imperial family, was a decent protector of Zen Buddhism, the emerging religion of the time. According to legend, monsters used to haunt the Zenrinji Dono at night, harassing Superior Emperor Kameyameya and his attendants. At that time, Mukonomen entered the Zenrinji Dono with his disciples and quietly sat in Zazen meditation, and the ghosts were dispelled. So, Superior Emperor Kameyameya came to trust Mukonomen. Mukonomen was born in Shinano Province, trained at Tofukuji Temple, and studied in Song Dynasty China when he was 40 years old. He was invited to be the founder of Nanzenji in 1291, but he died soon after. After Mukonomen died, Kien Soen directed the construction of the lower palace of the former Zen Temple Hall, and Nanzenji was completed around 1299. Around the same time, they changed the name of Ryoanzen Zenrinzenji to Taihei Taikoku Nanzen Zen Temple. Emperor Go made Nanzenji Temple the first of the Gozan, 5 temples, in 1334, but in 1385, Ashikaga Yoshimitsu placed Nanzenji Temple above the Gozan as a separate temple in order to make Shokoku-ji Temple, which he had built, the first of the 5 temples. At this time, Nanzenji had become a large temple with 60 pagoda temples. Conflicts within Ryakuji and Mitsuiji, the old Buddhist powers, became a political issue, and the government sometimes mediated. In 1393 and 1447, the main temple was destroyed by fire, but it was quickly rebuilt. But the entire temple complex was destroyed by fire during the Onin War in 1467, and the rebuilding never got underway. In 1605, Ishinshudan entered the temple, which started the reconstruction of Nanzenji. Then in 1606, Toyotomi Hideyoshi rebuilt Hato. Ishinshudan was a close associate of Tokugawa Ieyasu, the ruler of the time, involved in diplomacy and temple policy, and was also in charge of all Rinzai-shu temples in Japan. In addition, in 1611, the building of the imperial palace was moved and the Daihojo was reconstructed. In 1888, a waterway was built through Nanzenji Temple to convey water from Lake Biwa to Kyoto. The waterway has been used for filming TV dramas and is now an established part of Kyoto's scenery. Originally, a tunnel was planned to be built, but because the route was to pass behind the cemetery of Emperor Kamehameha, Nanzenji Temple objected, and the tunnel took its present form. There were objections, but in the end, Nanzenji Sanmin Gate was overflowing with visitors and has become an established part of Kyoto's scenery. Now, from here, I will explain the highlights of Nanzenji Temple. We'll start with the Sanmin Gate. The word Sanmin represents the three gates that one must pass through in order to attain enlightenment through Buddhist practice. It is the main gate representing the temple. It's an essential facility for Zen temples, and it's one of the three most important gates in Japan. The three most famous gates in Japan, besides Nanzenji, are the three gates of Tofukuji Temple and the three gates of Kuonji Temple in Yamanashi Prefecture. It was founded in 1295, but was destroyed by fire. It was rebuilt in 1628 by a warlord named Takatora Todo to mourn his retainer who fell in battle. It is about 22 meters high, and has a large Zen Buddhist style. So, inside the upper level of the Sanmin, which is called Gohoru, there is a statue of Takatora Todo and his family's important vassals, in addition to the main statue. On the ceiling are paintings of phoenixes and celestial beings. They are said to have been painted by Kano Tanyu and Tosa Takuetsu, respectively. Kano Tanyu is a painter of the Kano school, which combined Chinese and Yamato-e styles, and Tosa Takuetsu is a painter of the Tosa school, which developed the ancient Japanese Yamato-e style. The Kano school and the Tosa school are two major schools of Japanese painting that emerged in the mid-1400s and together served as painters for the imperial family and the shogunate. Often compared, both schools had a special influence on later Japanese art, and many of their works are representative of their times. This Sanmin is famous as the stage for the kabuki play Sanmin Gazen no Kirisu. In the upper outer corridor, Ishikawa Goemon says the famous line, "Is it a great view?" In front of the gate is a huge stone lantern about 6 meters high, said to be the largest in the east. The next one is Hato. A Hato is an institution in a temple where monks give lectures and sermons on the sutras. In Zen temples, it is called Hatu, but in other temples, it is called Kodo. It's now the central building of Nanzenji and the site of events and official memorial services. The original Hato was destroyed in a war. Later, Toyotomi Hideyoshi helped rebuild it in 1606, but it was destroyed by fire again in 1895. The present Hato was rebuilt in 1909. Inside, the main image is enshrined, and on the ceiling is a large painting by Kainan Amao, depicting a dragon Banryu in its cowering state before ascending to the heavens. The Banryu painted on the ceiling is said to be a water god dragon that calls for rain and sends down the teachings of Buddha Dharma like rain. Then there's also a saying that the dragon, the water god, is meant to protect the temple from fire. Next is Hojo. The Hojo of Nanzenji consists of a large Hojo and a smaller Hojo connected behind it. The Hojo is the building where the temple's priests live. The big Hojo today is said to have been rebuilt in 1611 by moving the buildings of the imperial palace. Therefore, the carved transoms, ceilings, and wooden doors are the remains that convey the atmosphere of the palace architecture of the time. The interior was all decorated with barrier paintings, an important cultural property, by Kano school painters of the early Momoyama period, but after 400 years, the colors are showing signs of peeling, so we recently stored 84 of the paintings in a storage room. Now, based on the digitally photographed images, the museum is exhibiting a new 84-panel barrier painting, complemented by a restored painting in the early to mid-Edo period color scheme. The Zen-in-style Karasansui garden on the south side of Hojo is the work of Kobori Enshu, one of the best gardeners of his day. The garden and the borrowed scenery are combined to form an atmospheric garden. The white sand and the 5 stones of various sizes placed by the wall remind one of the stream that a father and son tiger cross, hence the name Torinoko Watashi, Tiger Cub Ferry. The small Hojo was built between 1624 and 1644. It is believed to be the remains of Fushimi Castle. There are 40 gunkozu, an important cultural property, inside, and it is called Tora no Ma, Tiger Room. There are many small but attractive gardens around Hojo. The first is Nyoshin Garden. The concept is like Let's Express Our Heart. It's a dry landscape stone garden with garden stones arranged in the shape of the Chinese character for heart. It is called Horaishin Zen Garden, or Zen Buddhism-like garden, using a small L-shaped wall and the space between buildings. The white sand is used to represent the ocean, and the moss ground is used to represent an island. The third garden is called Rokudo Garden, which represents the Buddhist view of reincarnation in the 6 realms, heaven, man, Shura, damnation, hungry ghosts, and hell. Rikudoran Ya refers to the Buddhist view of the 6 realms of reincarnation, heaven, man, Shura, damnation, hungry ghosts, and hell. There are other small but attractive gardens as well. From here, I will explain about the hydrophobic waterway, which is also a modern heritage. In 1885, the construction of a waterway from Lake Biwa, the largest lake in Japan, to the city of Kyoto began for hydraulic power generation and irrigation. Then, in 1891, power transmission began. Later, additional construction was carried out, and the hydrophobic waterway was completed in 1912 and is still being used for tap water and other purposes today. The red brick arch-like aqueduct fits the old atmosphere of Nanzenji, and now it shines beautifully. The huge project to draw water from Lake Biwa to Kyoto was Japan's first commercial hydropower project, and it took about 5 years of difficult work, mobilizing 4 million workers. It was the first major civil engineering project to be carried out entirely by Japanese hands, at a time when Japan's technological capabilities were so low that it entrusted the design and supervision to foreign engineers. For this reason, it is highly regarded as a heritage of modernization. From here, I will explain about the gate of Nanzenji Temple. The Imperial Envoy Gate is located on the west side of the grounds and was moved from the Imperial Palace in 1641. In the old days, it was opened only when the emperor or an imperial envoy visited the temple. Nowadays, it is opened only for newly appointed priests when they enter Nanzenji for the first time. The Chumon Gate is located to the south of the Imperial Gate. It was moved to its current location when the gate was moved from the Imperial Palace. Finally, I will introduce some of the facilities associated with Nanzenji Temple. The first is the Konkion. The first is the Tashu, which is the building that protects the tombs of important persons for the temple and their graves, and was also used as a residence by the Isshin Shruden who restored the devastated Nanzenji Temple. The garden, called Tsurukan no Garden, is a Karasansui, dry landscape garden, created by Enshu Kobori. Other attractions include sliding door paintings by the Kano school and the Haso no Seiki, one of the 3 major tea ceremony rooms in Kyoto. The second is What's the Point? It is a facility called Taku, which is the same as Konkion, and is said to be the birthplace of Nanzenji. The garden retains the scenery of the time, and is a typical garden of the late Kamakura period with a pond at the center and a circular path around it. It is the oldest garden in Kyoto and one of the three major gardens in Kyoto. The sliding door paintings inside the Hojo are ink paintings of the Kano school, which are also a highlight. The last one is Tenjuin. The garden at Hojo was the brainchild of Enshu Kobori, and is a karesansui, dry landscape garden, with diamond-shaped tatami stones crossing a white sand garden surrounded by moss. The garden on the south side of the Shoin has been renovated, but it still retains the appearance of the 1400s. It is a garden that can be walked around. Nanzenji Temple is one of Kyoto's most popular tourist attractions and should be visited when visiting Kyoto because of its many attractions, including its historical background, prestige, beautiful natural environment and architecture, and the experience of Zen training that it offers.